Hey guys, and welcome to the Professional Hay Farm. I'm Heath and I'll be the main person in these videos. We've got a hay farm here over in central Queensland, Australia. We make hay to feed to the cows in the dry times and for stud cattle. And I'm going to show you what we do here and how we do it. So at the moment we're in our winter round, so we've got wheat and oats planted across our farms here over in central Queensland, Australia, and we're doing maintenance on our equipment, getting ready to make all this hay that we're going to make this season, hopefully. Today I'm not sure what we're going to be doing, but over the past couple of days we've been doing maintenance on our hay mower that cuts the hay and dumps it on the ground. So I'll show you it just now. So here's our hay mower. It's a HW345 New Holland. So this is the front up here. It drives this way. I know, looks a bit weird, but anyway. So it starts with this up here. These just here are the blades. They spin round at about 2500 RPM, and they cut the hay with these knives here. So it spins around like this, and it will cut the hay as it comes around. And then next it goes to the table auger, which augers all the hay into the center of the windrow, and then goes through the conditioning rollers, which are behind the table auger, which you can see there. And the conditioning roller's job is to squish all the hay down and try and get all the moisture out of it, because the idea of hay is you've got to dry it down so you can put it in a bale, and if it's not dried down enough, it will eventually burn. It'll go mouldy, and in some extreme cases it will burn. So they're the conditioning rollers there. This mower is about 190 horsepower. So there's the cab. We've got the engine. It's all hydrostatic, so the pumps are just in behind there. The engine drives the pumps, and then the pumps drive motors to drive the wheels. So it drives off the two front wheels there, and then just cast the wheels on the back, so you can do very easy donuts in this thing. And then it's just hydraulic motors on the front just here. There's one up here and one over there on that other side just there, that drive the front, so the hydraulic motors just have a drive shaft running down to the rotors just there, the blades, and then it drives across and there's a gearbox with belts and chains and stuff just under that panel there that will drive all your conditioning rollers and table augers. So that's the first process of making hay. And the next one are the rakes. So the rakes turn the hay over so the sun can dry out the other side. So just over here we've got two sets of rakes, Crone rakes. They're very good rakes. Mower's a very good mower. So these green set just here is, I think it's the older of the two rakes. No, it's the new set. So these two big rotors with all the tines sticking off of them spin around in a clockwise motion. This one spins clockwise, and this one will spin anti-clockwise, so that this curtain here, so when these things fold down, this rotor will move the hay towards this way, and that rotor will move the hay towards this way too. So once they unfold, you can telescope them out, the rotors, telescope them out, so you can put them in single rows or you can double them up. So when you're baling, we need either a bigger row or a smaller row depending on which baler. So these rakes have the ability to put 2 rows into one in one pass, or just leave them in singles. So that's how the rakes work, and we've got another set just over there through that steel rack. Now that's the second process of making hay. That gets done a couple times to dry the hay properly out before we bale it. Now the baler is a bit more complicated than the mower and the rakes. It's got a few more moving parts in it. We've got a big square baler and a round baler and a little square baler. The little square baler doesn't get used much anymore, but here's a big square baler, or the back of it. And so the big square baler usually gets towed behind this tractor here, which is the John Deere. It's our main hay handling tractor. It's pretty much our everything tractor. The John Deere can power this big square baler, and we've got another bigger tractor which isn't at this farm at the moment that can also drive this and does the planting and stuff. So it gets driven through this PDO shaft just here, up into the flywheel, and there's a big plunger at the back that will squish all the hay down and compact it so you get as much weight in the bale as you can. Now the big square bales are held together by strings. Excuse me. That is the plunger just up in there, right at the end of the chamber, and it will move up and down the chamber to compact all the hay into a bale. Now the hay gets fed into the baler by this pickup here. These tines spin around this way, and it will put the hay up into the pickup, and then it'll eventually end up just in there, in that chamber there. These forks, when you get we call it a biscuit, they go down, they shove the hay up into the main chamber, which then gets put in front of the plunger, which is that, and then the plunger smashes it into the bale. And then once the bale's done, up this ladder here, it will tie the knots. These knotters will tie the knots, and there's 6 of them there, so there's 6 strings around the bale that run long ways down the bale, and then these knotters will tie the knots for the strings to hold the bale together. And that's about how this baler works. The round baler is a lot more simple. Again, it's got virtually the same pickup, which is the bit at the front that feeds the hay into the baler, but it just makes a round bale instead of a long square one. So it's got the pickup there, and then around the back, in behind there, it's got 2 big belts that run long ways down the baler, so that when that hay from the pickup gets fed into the bale chamber, them black things there, they're the belts. They go round this way, and it will compact the bale again to get as much weight in a bale. You will get hay in there, it'll make a round bale, it'll just spiral it up until it reaches its size. And this baler can only be run on that John Deere tractor. And it has automation, so you just got to sit in the seat. The baler will tell the tractor to stop, the tractor will stop. The tractor will tie the bale, it gets this net here wrapped around it. So the baler will tie the bale, the tractor will open up the back door, which is this thing back here, and then the bale will roll out, the tractor will close the door, and you've got to just put the tractor back into Fords, and away you go again, make another bale. It's very, very easy compared to our last round baler. You had to do everything, and it was in these old red tractors. Now they're our oldest tractors. They're about 20 years old. This one we've got 2 of them. That one's about 10,000 hours old. The other one's probably 12, 13, 14, 15,000 hours old. But it's in at our other farm near Baler. So these tractors used to do everything before we ended up with this John Deere and this new round baler, which have only been, they're relatively new. But yeah, that's how the baling process works. We don't have the planter here at the moment because it's on our larger tractor at another person's farm. We've been doing a bit of work for them with it. But once he gets back, I'll do a bit of a video thing on that. A few weeks ago, we had our lucerne, which is across the creek. We run all centre pivots here for irrigation, and so they're what irrigates the paddocks. It simulates rain. We've just had a little bit of a shower of rain here this morning, which is all right. It's pretty good. We want the rain at the moment. So we had a little bit of lucerne and it looked like it was going to get rained on. So you can make silage. So if the hay's not quite ready, instead of baling it and it gets all mouldy, you can make it into silage, which is what we've got here. So you make round bales out of it, and then you use a silage wrapper to wrap them all up in that plastic there. And it's pretty much like Glad wrap for bales. And it'll wrap these bales up, and it keeps the protein in the bale, and it makes better feed in silage. But what we do here is hay, so we predominantly run hay. But if we need to, we can make silage, which I'm taking you to the silage wrapper now. And so this thing is the silage wrapper. So these arms will come down and grab the bale, pick it up, put it into these 3 rollers here. These 2 satellites here will come around. These arms will go back down, otherwise they get smacked by the satellites. So they go around and the bale rotates and it'll wrap the bale up, as I showed you before over on the silage bales. It'll wrap it up like that, and then you've got a silage bale. It just dumps it out the back. So yeah, that's about everything at the moment. I'll show you some more equipment and how it works. So yeah, so round bales, they're 4 foot in diameter and 4 foot across from there to there. And then the big square bales, they're 4 foot across from one side to the other, 3 foot in height and 8 foot in length. So that's what we call 8x3x4s, because it's 8 foot long by 3 foot high by 4 foot wide. We don't have any, so when we plant, we've got to fertilize our crops, otherwise they lack in nitrogen. So this is what this machine here does. It goes on the back of the truck. We put our fertilizer in it. So we go to town, we collect 10 tonne of fertilizer we can fit in here. We come home, we fold these augers out, and then on the back of that John Deere, our fertilizer spreader, you fill it up with about 3 tonne of urea. So we use urea to fertilize our crops. So you fill it up with 3 tonne of urea, this fertilizer spreader that I'm about to show you. And then it's got the big spinners on the back, and it'll throw about, so it's only about 2 meters wide, the spreader itself, but it'll throw about 30 meters. Throw the urea, and you fertilize the crops, then you use the irrigators to water it in. So we've got 7 centre pivot pads on this farm here. We've got 6 30-acre pads and 1 50-acre pad on this farm. and then the rest is dry land, which doesn't get irrigated and is just opportunity. If it rains, we plant it, which we've got it planted at the moment because we've had some very good rain around lately. And then at our place in town, it's got, I think it's 550 acres. We've got about we've got 250 acres of oats that's almost ready to mow. It's about 2 weeks away, so you'll be getting to see the mower run soon, and the rakes and the balers, because we'll get into making that hay. So this is the fertilizer spreader I've got here. So in through this window here, that's where all the product gets stored. And then it just opens up these gates just here, and then it drops it out onto these spinners, which spin like this, and the fertilizer just comes roaring out here and just gets thrown about 30 meters. So that's how it works. Pretty simple but effective machine. We don't have our own spray rig because the chemicals, they're bad for you. So we prefer to just get a contractor in to do all our spraying, as well as sprayers are very expensive. So we don't have a sprayer, but we just hire a fella in to get that. I might be able to get some footage of him spraying one day. Little square baler. I'll show you the little square baler. It doesn't get used much anymore because it's very slow, because you got to have small rows for it to work, so it's very, very slow. That's why Dad and I, we usually just hook onto the big square baler and do it with the big square baler, because the little square baler is very, very slow, and the big square baler, we can sell the big squares anyway. Now the little squares, they usually get made around this valley, Callard Valley. Little squares are usually either lucerne or like cereal crops like wheat or oats. Now this is a little square baler. It's a bit of a funky looking thing. Now it's got the pickup just here, and then these big spikes just under here, they drag all the hay across into the plunger, which is just that, and it goes up and down as well as the big square baler. So this little square baler, it's pretty much just it's a smaller big square baler, and it just makes bales like that. And I'm not sure of the dimensions of these bales, but it's only got 2 strings around it. Usually they weigh about 25-30 kilograms, these bales, but as I said, it doesn't get used much anymore. So how we handle our hay is with the ag tractors have loaders on them. We've got 3 loader tractors. So we've got 2 Case MX120s. Personally, they're my favourite because I've grown up on them and I'm used to those tractors. But they can't lift as much as the John Deere can. So the John Deere does most of the loader work now, but the MX120s, the Case MX120s, they still do a little bit if they're needed, but predominantly it's the John Deere doing most of the work. So we handle the big square bales with these tines here. There's 4 of them across the width of the spears, and then you've got the backboard here, and then that's it. It's very, very simple tool. We just carry 3 big squares, so they lay long ways. So it's 1 there, 1 here, and then 1 up the top. So that's all our sheds are made for 6 big squares high. So you just go 1 at the bottom, so 1 stack of 3 at the bottom, 1 stack of 3 at the top, and then it's 6 high. That's done. It's very fast, it's very effective. Just yesterday we had a Hitachi rep call in. We were talking to him the other day about wheel loaders. So this tractor, it's almost on its limit with the heavy bales that this baler makes. Now if we were to, been looking around at like balers and tractors and stuff, if we were to upgrade this baler to another one, a better one, like a newer one, because this is, I think it's 25,000 bales old, 30,000 bales old, and we're just worried that it's going to fail something. So, like, if you need to, like, go and it breaks, because it's fairly old for a baler. Like, if something breaks on it, then we're going to have no baler to bale with. So we've been toying with the idea of selling this one and getting a new one in its place. But the newer ones, they make heavier bales. So this one will make 550, 600 kilos bales if you're lucky. Usually they're 550, if you're lucky, 600 kilos. Now this tractor can lift about 600 kilo bales, and it's just about on its limit. But if you got a new baler, it'd be able to bale 700 kilo bales, which then this tractor wouldn't be able to pick 3 of them up. And it would limit our carting capacities, our handling capacities when we handle them to the shed, handle bales to the shed. It would limit them a lot. So that's why we've been sort of toying with the idea of getting a Hitachi wheel loader, because it'd be able to pick up a lot more than this tractor. Now, the slowest part of the haymaking process is carting it to the shed. So that's why usually when Dad bales, I'm in this tractor here, and I stack them up into 3 high. So when we cart them to the shed, either me or one of my sisters or my dad will be in the truck and someone else will be in this tractor, and all you got to do is pick 3 up and put them on the truck. And usually by the time we're picking up, there's rain coming and you got to get it in the shed before the rain, and it needs to be quick and easy to get this hay in the shed, otherwise it'll get rained on. So that's why everything needs to be working properly. And if we upgraded our baler to make the heavier bales, then this tractor wouldn't be good enough to do the handling job anymore. That's why you'd have to go to something different to handle these bales, to lift the capacity. Yeah. Right, I think that'll be it for today. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like, share. Leave any questions, queries, comments in the comments section. Tell me if I'm doing any good. Yeah, tell me any way I can improve. I'd love to improve. Thanks for watching, everyone.